It's a Guy Jeans podcast.
This episode is brought to you by goldco.com. Go to goldco.com/guy to check it out and receive a great deal. Go to goldco.com/guy.
Hey, you guys, welcome to the podcast. I want to thank you for listening to the podcast. Thanks for supporting the show. My guest today is Michael D. from Lunkerville. If you guys have never seen his show, check it out on Waypoint TV. It's on Prime. It's a really great show where he goes fishing with just everyday people. He claims to not be an expert, but his show, he just goes to all over the place. He goes to Hawaii, New York. He fishes in Central Park to all the way to wherever, and he just has a great time doing it. The way he does his videos is really, really cool. He comes from that film industry, so the way he presents the show and himself is makes you want to go out into the outdoors, put it that way. But we also talk about his venture of being a frontman for a Doors tribute band, cover band, two of them actually, and then he's also got a new venture into cannabis and helping addicts with cannabis and that sort of thing. We talk about that. So without further ado, Mr. Michael D. from Lunkerville.
Right on.
Mike, how you doing?
Guy, what's happening? Thanks for having me.
Oh man, super stoked to have you on my podcast. We got so much to talk about. I wanted to kind of set the vibe of your show, Lunkerville. I'm of course super impressed, but I'm super honored to have you on my show. You being a filmmaker and also the host of the show, it's pretty awesome. But the vibe of the show is so, I don't know how to describe it. I know you're a filmmaker and your show comes across as like really easy to watch. It's got humor in it. It's warm. You fish with all these different types of people on your show, and it's just a fun show. It just has this really, like, it just draws you in. And so for the folks that are listening right now, I have Mike D. from Lunkerville, the show, and Mike D., why don't you kind of let us know what you're doing, man?
What's up, guys? Yes, hey, guys and Guy, thanks for having me. And gals. Yeah, I'll just tell you a little bit about the show for people who don't know.
Yeah.
It's called Lunkerville. I'm the host, Mike D., but I'm not the expert. That's kind of the hook, and that's what makes it interesting. I started the show 20 years ago after 9/11 when I discovered fishing. That's when I started fishing in Central Park to de-stress after 9/11. I was there in downtown Manhattan when it all went down. I could see the Trade Center from my apartment window. It just was very traumatic, man. And I'd been thinking about getting into fishing again because I'd done a little bit when I was a kid, and just something drew me to Central Park to fish. And I started catching bass, and I brought a cameraman up there with me because I have a production company at the time, and he just filmed me fishing, and I had this crazy idea. What if I were the host of a fishing show, but I didn't know how to fish, but people took me to their secret spots. Yeah. They invited me to their special secret spots, took me on their boat. I used their equipment. And, I just asked them questions and I learned how to fish. Now, of course, I would become an expert eventually, but I just stayed with that shtick. And it is a great formula. And that's what makes it genuine, because my guest is always different. Mm-hmm. It could be anyone. They look like you or your neighbor. You can be on the anybody can be on the show, and it's just there's always the challenge and conflict of catching fish. That's built in, so there's that drama. I'm not selling anything. That's another thing. Mm-hmm. I'm never hawking sponsor stuff. Now I have sponsors, but they're hard to come by, and they're more lifestyle sponsors. So it's more like, be a partner with me, but I'm not going to like say, hey, I'm like, you got the best fishing pole ever, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, look, I'll use your stuff, and people will buy it because they want to use your brand. So that's been my deal, and it's worked for about 20 years so far. Media is changing so much. I mean, television is, people don't watch fishing on television much anymore. It's social media, so I've transitioned into that mostly now. So, yeah, that's kind of my story. That's just one thing that I do. One project that I started, I never expected to do it for 20 years. I mean, I could do a whole show on just talking about how I got started, but in general, it was kind of just a fluke.
Yeah, it's a super fun show. I mean, I watched one of the episodes where you're in Hawaii fishing for smallmouth bass. Who knew that, right? Like, who knew that there was smallmouth bass in Hawaii? You
can catch fish anywhere. That's the thing that I try to do on the show. I try to show you that it's really easy to do. You don't need a bass boat. You don't, I mean, you need $20 really to get a combo and some worms or some bait. And you just have to fish where the fish are and with somebody who's fished there before, you just got to know there's just a few things you have to do. Like you go to my TikTok channel, you just spend 5 minutes there and you can find, enough, you can educate yourself enough to go fishing.
Yeah.
You just need to know certain things. Like, where do I go? What's a seasonal pattern? What lures are they using? Go to your local bait shop. They'll tell you where to fish. It's not hard.
I like how I think it's your intro that you talk about how fishing is healing, and it's how good it is for you to go fishing and get out there with your friends or your family and how you can create memories. I love that whole spiel that you did on your episode. Is that on every show that you do that?
Well, I forget what you're referring to. Maybe the intro kind of, I refer to that. There's a voiceover that kind of talks about what Lunkerville's about. I mean, I just try to show as many situations where you could be recreational fishing. A lot of times it's a family situation. Like for $100, you can equip a whole family, go out fishing, and I just want to show how easy and fun it is. You don't have to catch bass. You can catch sunfish. It's just accessible. And it's important to be outdoors more than ever. You got to get people outdoors. You got to get the kids out there. They just have to connect a little bit and have calm and pause and time to reflect and not be in front of a device. And even if they have a device, they're out of service. It just has to happen. I'm from the last generation, so I'm Gen X. And I'm from the last generation. Are you Gen X too? Or
yes.
Are you Gen?
Yeah.
So we're the last generation that grew up without computers, without internet. Like I didn't have a computer until after college.
Right.
Okay. Even after college, it started with a beeper.
Yes.
And then cell phone wasn't until later, man. So, and now I can look back and it's like, wow, kids will never have that.
Yeah.
Like we had to figure out what to do, and you went outdoors and you did shit outdoors. So, can I curse on this show, or you?
Yeah, no problem.
Out?
No,
okay.
no problem.
So I think that's kind of my mission, to get folks fishing. I also have a nonprofit that I've been trying to get going to get more fishing poles in kids' hands and adults' hands, and just show them how easy it is. So,
that's cool.
That's what I'm doing with fishing, getting folks fishing.
I want to talk about how you go about making an episode, if that's okay. Mm-hmm. Do you, I mean, you're super accomplished in, reading your bio and everything. You're directing, producing, editing, doing everything basically. And so when you find an area to go to, or you're going to go see somebody, is that you contacting them going, hey, I want to come do a show with you, and you write a script and it's all written out and you have all the shots all ready to go, or you kind of just winging it as you go?
Yeah, none of that. I wing it, and they come to me. They come to me.
Okay.
I rarely find them. I have a list of people. Some people on the list go from year one.
Yeah.
still that I've been in touch with them. Like, oh, they would be a good guest. And then sometimes I'll have a guest on where I met a week prior or something, and I just happened to be shooting. I have my cameraman with me, and we're shooting something. I'm like, oh man, let's go shoot. So it's really about each season being all different types of people. I want to represent everyone, from all different lifestyles,
Love it.
classes,
Yeah.
and just so there's somebody familiar, and then I want to know as little about the person as possible before I meet them, before I fish. I barely talk to them on the phone. I don't interview them. I don't tell them anything. I say, listen, I'm coming with a cameraman. I'm not even coming with any tackle. I'm using your tackle. And that's part of the show. That's why I don't have a lot of tackle sponsors, because I use other people's. But that's okay.
Yeah.
And so that makes it interesting, and they become the expert. They know their stuff. They're on their boat. They're in their honey hole. They're always nervous at first because they usually have never been on camera. I haven't talked to them before. They've seen the show, probably. Either they know the show for years, or they just, they've seen the show right before they filmed. But you know what? That nervousness goes away once we just start talking and catching fish. And then the challenge is catching fish. It's always the challenge catching fish. When we catch fish right off the bat and right and left, that's the boring show. That's the show I don't want. I want a challenge, because if we're catching fish constantly, it's boring. It's not a challenge. I'm not talking to the person. They're not talking to me. Oh, look at how fun this is. It's not fun for the audience to watch. Let us have a struggle, which we always do. You see the guest kind of getting nervous. We're switching up the baits, just like you would do out on the water. And the guest figures it out. The guest always figures it out, always. And I make it a little more dramatic in the edit. I use my skills as a documentarian, as a narrative filmmaker, to put in some music and just have fun with it, to make it dramatic and make it, and then put in the tips and stuff, and just make it more about the day and that person, and let the story unfold. I mean, so we have the natural drama of the catching fish, but there's drama of the person too. Sometimes they're really shy, sometimes they're really outgoing. I don't know. There's never a bad guest. So I just want somebody different. That's what makes it interesting.
I love the outlook on it. It's so great. I love the like, there's one scene where you go into like a convenience store, and you go in there with your rods, and then there's a cat there. And there's a cat there on the floor. Like that kind of stuff is cool.
Yeah. That Monfong, that's my neighborhood in Manhattan, right around the corner, and I know them. It's a family, and they own a little. I don't think they call them the Chinese bodegas, but if it was Dominican, it would be a bodega. But they're Chinese, and it's called just a little Chinese grocery. And I go in there to get my water and stuff before fishing, and say hi to the cat and the grandmother, and it just, they don't speak any English, not a word. They just say fishing, and I go, yep, going fishing in Central Park.
Oh my gosh.
And I've been in that neighborhood, I don't know, 30 years.
Wow. Is that hustle and bustle? Like, it's just like the energy. I've never been to New York. And so like what I picture it is just like this high energy where you step out, like you probably step out of your apartment. It's just like, go. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. And, I travel a lot, and I'm not there as much as I used to be, but, it's crazy. It's crazy. I like the country better. I like quiet, but it's city's cool too. It's just a different energy. And, I have my friends. It's like anywhere, you get to know people in your neighborhood, and you just become familiar with it. But, nowadays, actually, the city, Manhattan in particular, is mostly tourists everywhere. So it's very crowded and noisy. So it's kind of annoying for the locals, where back in the day, it was less, I don't know. The tourists went to certain areas.
Yeah. So there's a voice that you use, for your intro and stuff. That guy's voice is awesome, man. Who is that?
That is, what's his name? His name is, oh man, I got to think of it. If I can't think of it, I'll send it to you.
No worries. I just thought that his
the voiceover guy.
Yeah.
His name's Bob something. I recorded that 20 years ago.
Oh, you did?
I still use it. I had a session
God.
with him 20 years ago, and I still use the same cuts from that.
What a voice, huh?
I like that to be consistent, the consistency of it. I mean, it's a simple show. It's a low budget show.
Yeah.
And the only reason I could have done it and still do it is because I'm already in the business, and the production was really cheap, and I got on television quickly a long time ago, and I made, I have networks that will air it, so it doesn't cost me a lot. So I don't need a lot of sponsors. But, fishing shows in general, let's be frank, are infomercials. They're just infomercials for industry, and that you pay for programming and you sell tackle, and that's how they were invented.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I saw that as an opportunity to be on television and tell little documentary stories using that format. Luckily, I had a lot of success right off the bat, and I never really had to, pay for that, to be on TV. Like, the show was wanted, that it was in demand. It's a funny business. Yeah. Media. So now that's all history. Now everybody's in social media.
Yeah.
If you're a fishing pro, and you want to start a TV show, forget it. You want to start a TikTok channel. You want to start an Instagram, YouTube. That's what you want, because that's what people are watching.
Yeah.
And
crazy.
And then you could do a half-hour show and put it on TV, too, because they need content if you can.
Yeah.
But the advertisers want social media, and they want podcasts like yours.
Yeah. So do you do everything? Like, you have a cameraman, I heard you say, and then after you guys get all the footage, do you go back to your pad and you start I
edit it. Hell yeah. Definitely, man. I do everything. It's low budget.
Yeah.
And the thing is in my company, so I'm a film school graduate, and I did a couple low budget independent feature films, which I directed, but I'm also a cinematographer. I was a cinematographer major. And I did a lot of shooting for my company for 25 years, a lot of fashion work and stuff. So I did a lot of shooting myself, but Lunkerville I didn't shoot, obviously, because I was on camera. But now I don't really... No, I'm not shooting much anymore. Not much in the fashion business. Doing Lunkerville.
You're just doing
some other things going on.
I want to talk about those as well. Obviously, you're an entertainer, because what I'm about to go into now is you fronted a Doors cover band. Is that right?
Yeah, two of them actually.
Two of them? So tell me about that.
Okay, so the first one was in my 20s. So how old am I now? 58 now. So the first one was in my 20s, coming at, let's see, where was I? I was coming out of college. God, I don't know. Oh, it was the Village Voice. So that was the paper that went around, and I'm in the back flipping around the music section, and I saw an ad, Doors band looking for a singer. And I was for some reason, I guess in high school, I really loved the Doors. I knew all the songs.
Yeah, me too.
And you too. So I just auditioned for it, and I got it. And I was in that band for like a year, maybe, and it was a lot of fun, and it was cool. We gigged down at the Village Gate, and where else? Did Village Gate a couple times. We didn't really gig that much in that band. It was kind of weird. But anyway, that band broke up. But about 20 years later, about 10 years ago, another one, almost same thing happened. I joined an existing band that lost their singer. I'm like, yeah, what the hell? Let's do it. It's fun.
Yeah, I bet.
It's like a glorified karaoke, really. But if you're good, and you could see some of the stuff on YouTube and
really?
A few other places. Yeah.
So did you wear the leather?
Sunday.
Did you wear the leather pants and everything?
Everything, man. We played nice. We played. We were like a regular at which is the one at why can't I think of it right now?
One of the clubs up there.
The club down in the Village that not the Village Gate. That was the first one. I'll think of it in a minute.
Yeah. So what about like your keyboard player? Did he play? Was it pretty authentic? Like, you know, what Ray Manzarek was playing and stuff. Like was he playing the bass?
So
or did you guys have a bass player?
Yeah, no, we got a bass player.
Okay.
We got a bass player. We cheated a little bit.
Uh-huh.
We didn't do the full on show. I was the only one I wore the leather pants and did the whole. It's pretty easy to be Jim. You just got to get the voice down.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think I did a pretty good job.
Uh-huh.
And Cafe Wa, that's the place. Cafe Wa is where we played regularly.
Uh-huh.
And that was pretty cool. And then a bunch of places on Long Island. That band's called Blue Sunday.
Okay.
The Doors Experience. So there's some stuff floating around.
Okay.
On the internet.
That's cool.
Yeah, but it's a blast, man. It's
So,
a blast. I recommend it to anybody for your mental health and just have a good time. You know, join a cover band if you can. If you're a musician or a singer, if you're good, you know.
Let's go back to when you auditioned. Can you remember that experience, like walking into the room and what did you do?
The first one I don't really remember. I think they threw me in my apartment and they were pretty young. I don't remember. The second one I do very much. So it was at the Steve's house in Long Island. I had to take the train out from Long Island. And just that was a little stretch. Like, wow, we were going out to Long Island like an hour and rehearsing, but I was into it. It just sounded like a good time. And you know, they were established somewhat, and we could get some gigs. And I'm like, hey, the worst thing is we go play a couple stupid gigs, and you know, it's fun. We have fun for rehearsing and stuff.
Yeah.
So I went, and I knew all the songs.
Yeah,
so I forget what song they said to play, but maybe it was, I have no idea, but I nailed it. They're like, you're hired and let's do it. So we didn't really have to rehearse much because I knew the songs and they knew the songs, and we just played the recordings. You know, there was no real interpretation and we weren't going crazy.
Yeah.
But we got a good reputation, a little following there. So, and it's documented. So
that's so cool.
And now I can do a mean karaoke, but it's not as fun doing Doors. I'm kind of sick of doing that.
Well,
any classic rock works for me.
Check this out, man. So I'm in California going to a wedding, and I'm at my girlfriend's friend's wedding at a big hotel. And so, you know how they have those different banquet rooms, you know, big giant banquet rooms at these big hotels, you know. And so I told my girlfriend, hey, I'm going to go to the restroom and I'll be back in a few. And so I go out the big banquet room and I start walking down and I start hearing this music. It sounds like it's the Doors, right? And so I'm like, wow, that's interesting. So I opened up the door and it's a full on another wedding. And it's all dark in there and they have a stage going and everything. And so I'm going to kind of crash this wedding and see what's going on. And so I go.
Was it a Doors cover band?
No, it was the Doors minus Jim Morrison. And so.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
but with another singer.
With another singer, Vince Neil. Vince Neil was singing.
Oh, wow. That's so funny because they did tour for a while with different singers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my, you know, because I'm a keyboard player.
He must have been horrible.
So it was like a big like Hollywood wedding or something, producer guy or something, and he had this band playing. So, you know, here's my, you know, idol keyboard player, Ray Manzarek, playing keyboards, and I'm standing like right by him going, oh my gosh, you know, so that was pretty cool.
You're a keyboard player.
Yeah, I'm a keyboard player and piano player, and I front a band as well.
Oh, cool, man.
It's kind of like a ska reggae band out here in California.
Oh, really? Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. I love reggae.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really consider myself a musician. You know, like I said, glorified karaoke, but I do enjoy it. You know, when I was in the band, it was a little weird because I didn't play an instrument. And I don't know. But cover bands are cool. They're fun.
Absolutely. It's so fun. It's just fun to get up there and have fun, you know?
Yeah. You know, it's like just doing something different. And so do you do the Ray Manzarek with the bass on one hand?
I did in some other like cover bands and stuff, but
nice. I
have a full like horn section and stuff with my band, and We play more like
Sweet.
kind of like ska stuff, like the specials and the English beat and stuff.
Oh, great,
bands
man.
like that.
Love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That old '80s stuff we grew up with, man.
Oh yeah, man, cool. Yeah, I love that stuff.
Well,
I'm big into reggae.
Oh, are you really? Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So you basically have been in kind of like, film and entertainment. You're kind of a, this guy who likes to tell stories through filmmaking and you're just kind of an artistic guy, obviously. So your next venture that I want to talk about is this cannabis venture. What's that all about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yes, to some it's controversial. It'll be more mainstream now. Well, for several reasons. How did it come about? I mean, I can get pretty personal here. I will.
All good.
Okay, I don't mind talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm actually doing a documentary, a wellness documentary I've been working on.
Oh, very cool.
I'm mostly interested in cannabis for recovery from addiction.
Oh, nice.
From alcohol or opiates. I was addicted to alcohol for quite a while, and cannabis helped me kick it.
Oh, nice.
And it just really did. And I've seen it help a lot of other addicts. And, I'm not ashamed to say that I was, had a problem, and I dealt with it.
Yeah.
And there's, cannabis has been around for a long time. There's been such a stigma for so long. And the funny thing with my experience, and everybody's experience is different. I was a regular user when I was younger.
Sure.
Through college, and until I started Lunkerville, actually, around that time, after 9/11. Right around, and I was like, okay, you know what? Since I'm starting the show, I'm going to be on TV. I can't be all stoned, I'm going to just finally quit smoking pot. I'm just going to finally quit smoking pot, Because it was a real stigma. You're a similar age. It's just, you can't, like, I had so many friends who didn't smoke, and it just was like a bad thing. But alcohol, no.
I know.
So what happened was I didn't, it was right around that time, like early 2000s. And I guess steadily, my alcohol use increased, over time, over the decades. And it became, an addictive situation. It became very unhealthy, extremely unhealthy. I wasn't smoking any cannabis, using it all. And to make a long story short, I got out of that through rehab and all, plural rehabs. Yeah. And I was able to be functional fine. And it didn't really affect, people didn't know about it, like a lot of people who were addicts. But, with alcohol, it's different. It gets, it's just too accepted everywhere. So, and it's very hard to stop, So I right around when I quit, when cannabis became legal in New York medically. And I got prescribed it for anxiety back pain, and was at that time or something, because I wanted to try it, and it really helped. And I, never, it's been probably 6 years almost since then.
Wow.
And it's really helped me a lot. And I've seen it help a lot of other people, psychedelics too, for PTSD. Yeah. And, just, there's a lot, it's all the truth and all the science is coming, forward now. And I want to be part of it. And I've seen in my reflective state as a sober person going through recovery with, cannabis theory, I've been able to reflect on myself as an addict and over time and circumstances as a young man evolving into an older man. And I see that I was using cannabis as some sort of therapy, and I substituted alcohol for it. It's probably some sort of anxiety or ADD therapy. But the problem with alcohol is that you have to continue to keep using it. It's highly addictive and has all sorts of negative consequences. So this is serious stuff. This is my experience, and I know that other people have had very similar experiences because I've talked to a lot of people about this.
Sure.
And it's just, you need people like anybody just to come and publicly share their experience and say it's okay. It's not okay for everyone. It's not that easy either. I mean, cannabis can be abused like anything. It's a substance. You can become intoxicated. I'm talking about therapy. I'm talking about, using, not using opiates or not using alcohol if you have a problem. That's the number one thing. You have to stop using it. If that helps you, if cannabis helps you, definitely try it. Definitely try it. Don't listen to whatever. There isn't one thing. It's not like AA is everything.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, has one thing. The number one rule is you have to want to quit drinking, and that's it. All the other ones you can just, you don't even need to follow.
Yeah.
Because if you don't want to follow number one, forget it.
I have a question.
So,
in when it involves the different types of cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
I walked in to, the first time was years ago, but I walked into a cannabis store, dispensary, and I had never been in one, and I was just blown away, with all the different kinds there are. This one will put you, get in the couch. This one will do this. This one has this much THC. This one, whatever. And I was just blown away, like, how many kinds there were and the potency. And so my question is, like, which one would you use for, for your therapy and stuff like that?
This is the thing. There's a learning curve, and this is something that's not really available yet. It's available a little bit, but you got to find it to understand what works for you personally, because everything is different.
Yeah.
Right now out there, people hear about THC and CBD.
Yeah.
That's all they hear about. But that's just the two most basic compounds that have been studied.
Yeah.
There's thousands of compounds, and most notably all the other cannabinoids, terpenes that create entourage effects that can be used for focus, can be used for anxiety, can be used for sleep, for pain. So the thing is you can't just be an uneducated person, walk into a dispensary and just pick something off the shelf. You need to educate yourself first.
Sure.
And then sometimes the people there will educate too, but you have to start off slow and determine what you're trying to do. Yeah. Like, say what I find a lot of opioid addicts got hooked on opioid for pain. Mm-hmm. So they use cannabis for pain now. Now, a lot of cannabis users think off the bat, oh my God, I would never smoke pot if I was in pain. It would make it 10 times as worse. I would be so paranoid.
Yeah.
Well, that's just somebody who's unfamiliar with that substance that they're using. They might not know that strain. They're not familiar with it. You have to be familiar with all aspects of, because it is powerful. I mean, cannabinoids are powerful to the person who's never used them, and you have to know the effects. I'll have one for pain, I'll have one for sleep, I'll have something for focus. Now, that person I referred to who was the opioid addict who uses it for pain will use a tremendous amount of a certain type to get rid of that pain. But that tremendous amount is all relative, to who he's taking it or she, Another person taking that would have a totally different effect. So for me to develop my therapy, and this is something I'm going to come out with commercially eventually to help educate, is, you have to have a plan, and you have to start experimenting with products, and there'll be a whole sort of flow chart of how, what products are available. And then you also need consistency. You need to be able to get products that are consistent. In the past, when you got weed or cannabis, you got whatever your dealer had. That's why you got stoned all the time. You got stoned. Stoned is equivalent to intoxicated. I like to say that you get high.
Yeah.
You get high as you're elevating. You're using it with intentional effects.
Yeah.
Now, if you get something that you don't know, if you just give me some mystery joint, and you don't tell me what it is, I will likely get stoned because I don't have the expected effects.
Yeah.
In my mind, you get the effects from cannabis, from one, the plant, from two, your mindset, and from three, the setting you're in.
Yeah.
So it's only partially the substance. The rest is your mindset. Are you familiar with this effects that are about to happen? Have you done this before? Do you know? Are you about to get sleepy, or are you about to get focused? And then what's the setting? Are you with people? Are you by yourself? Are you going to get paranoid because it smells?
Right.
The paranoia and stuff comes from unfamiliarity. So it's this learning curve, and it takes time and education that needs to be done. And this is what I call cannabis therapy, which is not being talked about. People talk about medical cannabis, and they talk about recreational cannabis. And like in New York, that's what we have. You either get a medical license or you have recreational, but you're not allowed to talk about therapeutic effects. You know what? The medical side's barely talking about the therapeutic effects, the more daily use, Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they're all kind of merged. I mean, it's just, there's so little by the public out there because everybody thinks THC content.
Yeah.
It means nothing. That means nothing.
Interesting.
CBD, kind of nothing. It's what's mixed with it.
Interesting. Do you remember the days, like, when we were younger, you would just, roll the dice and you'd go get
what?
You'd roll the dice, and just go over to somebody's house and go, hey, can I get a dime bag or whatever it was, and you just didn't even really know what it was. And you'd be like,
because, and in the rare chance that you had somebody who had some consistent weed, then you can get used to that effects. But usually it was just some old brown stuff that was compressed and shipped from Mexico or something.
Right.
It made you kind of sleepy. And then there was the green stuff that they called hydro. Somebody grew it inside, and it was probably local, and it was like not smushed. Yeah, that stuff was crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But now there's so much stuff that you can't. I mean, you really have to educate yourself. And if you're just starting out, start easy and read up, and there's plenty of stuff out there. Are you? But it can help.
Are you going into some type of like help business type thing, or?
Yeah, so I'm trying to I'm on the waiting list for my micro business license in New York to start manufacturing product. Okay. And then I want to combine the outdoors and the fishing wellness.
Oh, nice.
And maybe, it's hard enough to get sponsors these days,
Yeah.
And maybe fold the two in. I'm trying to more about cannabis media. It's very selective now where you can promote and advertise cannabis. There's very little being done there. I want to be one of the first into that. So I'm learning a lot about that and involved there. Not only social media, but, maybe television, who knows, we'll see. Once federally it's legal, everything will start changing. Mm-hmm. So right now it's a little funky with the state to state regulations. But I'll be doing something in New York State within the year.
That's cool. I'm sure it'll be successful.
I hope so.
Yeah, man.
But it'll be about educating too. So I'm gonna have to, I can only say certain things. I can't say, this will help you sleep. I don't think you can say that in New York if you're on the recreational side. But there'll be a lot of education, and I'll get around all that stupid rules. When it does help.
When it comes to New York, are you seeing like New York kind of staying the same, like as far as like the people there, or are you seeing it growing? What are you seeing in New York?
What do you mean?
Like, is it
New York City?
Yeah, like is it changing, or is it kind of just staying the same?
More tourists.
Yeah, more tourists.
I would say more. It's just getting Manhattan is getting just more. You need more money every day, and more. You just need to. It's very expensive to live in Manhattan. It's more. The allure of Manhattan is for younger people, and like Brooklyn now. They like to live Brooklyn and Queens, and it's just everyone's priced out of Manhattan, really.
Okay, that's what I've heard, man. I don't know anything about it, but I just heard it's expensive. And
I have a rent stabilized apartment, so I have I've been there for 30 years.
Oh, you're stoked, man. That's good to have. Well, how many more seasons are you going to keep going with Lunkerville?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we haven't shot in a little while. We're redefining how we do the show.
Yeah.
What I've been doing the last couple seasons have been just re-edited from the past 18 years.
Uh-huh.
And they were thematic. Each show was thematic. Like, this is how this show's about bass fishing, and this show's about ice fishing, and then we would have 3 or 4 guests per episode. Nice. So that was a great opportunity to educate. Whereas the shows every other year, there was one guest per show. It was more about their adventure. Uh-huh. So that's what we did for the last 2 seasons. That was to help ignite the Get Folks Fishing Foundation initiative.
Love it. Yeah.
Create awareness for that. And now, we're looking for sponsors. I have some partnerships on social media, and I'll tell you the truth. What happened, we had one big sponsor for 5 years. That was our title sponsor, South Bend Sporting Goods. They sold very inexpensive tackle, the cheapest you could get. They were a great partner because we could help our audience get equipped for very little money. And we helped elevate their brand from just cheap tackle to affordable tackle that has a heritage, 100-year brand. Unfortunately, their parent company went bankrupt in 2017-18. And so that pulled the carpet from, the rug from under our feet. And we lost that partnership. So we haven't really recovered from that. So for the last 5 years, I've been kind of limping on television with reruns and recuts, filming some stuff. Yeah. But we've been exploding on social media. That's been working great because I've been able to, I have such a huge archive. I've been able to educate a whole new audience. These people don't even know the show.
That's awesome.
Most of the people on TikTok. So that's been good. And until I can get a partner to, who wants to do more TV episodes, it'll just continue to exist as a media brand that will do mini series on television, continue to produce social content, YouTube, and wherever media brings us.
I wonder.
I'll fold in the cannabis initiative if I can.
Nice.
When I can.
I wonder.
Lunkerville 420.
I wonder how many people have been turned on to fishing through you. You and your show. Do you have any idea?
Well, it's great. What's so cool is that I don't really know the number. It's always curious to me. Like, are people really watching the show?
Yeah.
Somebody's got to be watching the show. But then again, what's been happening recently, like at trade shows, it's happened a few times, is that somebody will come up to me and be like, Mike, I've been watching you since I was a kid.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was like, oh my God, it's been on that long. This person is like an adult. They're in their late 20s or something, 30, and they're like, "Watch since I was a kid." I'm like, that feels so good, man. And they just give me that look. They give me that look, like, "Wow, I'm somebody." Yeah, and that's cool because they know my show's it's innocent. It's about just getting people fishing. I'm not trying to act like a hot shot, like a big shot. I'm not trying to be the pro. Yeah. It was born out of a different place, and I will continue to nurture it as a brand. I mean, it was part-time for years and years. Only for the last 6 or 7 years it was full-time. So, it'll continue to be part-time for now.
What a great feeling, huh? For somebody to come up and say that to you at a show.
Oh man, it's so rewarding. And I get that. Yeah, and I get emails and stuff and posts, and it's happened. And I got a huge social media presence because we started on Facebook early. So we built over 800,000 organic followers. So that's people crazy. Know the brand, and that's awesome. It's cool, man. It is cool.
Well, for those people that don't know where to find you, where can they find you?
I would go, the first place I would go is the social media. That's where we post mostly on TikTok, which is at Lunkerville.
Okay.
Instagram, which is Lunkerville TV.
Okay.
And Facebook is Lunkerville. And if you want to watch full episodes of the show, Prime Video, you can watch them.
Okay.
Waypoint TV.
Yep. Okay.
MOTV. Fishing TV. We air reruns on World Fishing Network, and when we come out with new shows, they usually premiere on Discovery Channel.
Okay.
But definitely follow us on social media. You'll have all the content there, the short content.
Nice. Well, Mike D, thank you, man. Thanks for being on my podcast. I learned a lot and enjoyed talking to you, man. I love talking to other musicians and other creators like yourself.
Musicians of karaoke. Oh, thanks, man. You call me a musician. That's the first time ever. Hey, Guy, I appreciate it. This is a blast, man.
Yeah.
Let's chat again sometime.
Yeah, man. If you're ever out in California, let's go fishing, man.
Right on.
All right, buddy. We'll talk soon.
All right. Okay. Take it easy.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
With everything going on in the world today, right now could be the best time ever to diversify your retirement savings with precious metals like gold and silver. I just bought some precious metals myself, and I got them from the top-rated company Goldco. They couldn't have made the process easier, and their customer service was impeccable. Goldco has helped thousands of people just like you and me place over $2.5 billion in gold and silver. They're rated A+ by Better Business Bureau. They've earned over 5,000 5-star reviews. They're a 7-time Incorporated 5,000 winner. And that's just mentioning a few of their accomplishments. There's plenty more. Right now, for my listeners, they're offering up to $10,000 in bonus silver. You heard that right, up to $10,000 in bonus silver, but only while supplies last. Go to goldco.com/guy to learn more. That's goldco.com/guy. Diversify your savings with gold and silver today at goldco.com/guy.
It's a Guy Jeans podcast.